They said she wasn't ready. They said she didn't belong in the same ring as Becky Lynch. They said Maxxine Dupri was just eye candy, just a pretty face with no substance, no skill, no championship material whatsoever. Well, last night on Monday Night Raw, Maxxine Dupri proved every single doubter, every single hater, every single critic completely and utterly wrong. But she didn't do it alone. Because in the most shocking, jaw-dropping, earth-shattering moment in recent WWE history, a ghost from the past materialized. A legend returned. AJ Lee, the woman who revolutionized women's wrestling, the woman who disappeared from WWE nearly a decade ago, returned to help Maxxine Dupri dethrone the man herself, Becky Lynch, and capture the Intercontinental Women's Championship. And the wrestling world will never be the same. Let me set the scene for you, because what transpired on Raw wasn't just a title change. It was a seismic shift in the entire women's division. It was a moment that will be replayed for years, debated endlessly, and remembered as the night everything changed. Becky Lynch walked into that arena as the Intercontinental Women's Champion, as the man, as the most dominant female superstar on the roster. She had vanquished everyone. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch was untouchable, unstoppable, and according to her, unbeatable. Then Maxxine Dupri's music hit, and the crowd had mixed reactions because, let's be honest, nobody gave her a chance. Maxxine Dupri has been grinding for years. She's been overlooked, underestimated, and disrespected at every turn. When she first arrived in WWE as part of Maximum Male Models alongside Mason Mansoor, people laughed. They called it a joke gimmick. They said she was wasting her time. But Maxxine never stopped working. She trained harder than anyone else. She studied tapes until 3 in the morning. She took every opportunity, no matter how small, and turned it into something memorable. Slowly but surely, Maxxine started winning people over. Her charisma became undeniable. Her in-ring work improved exponentially. And when she declared she was coming for the Intercontinental Women's Championship, people started paying attention. But Becky Lynch? Becky Lynch wasn't worried. She openly mocked Maxxine during promos. She called her a developmental talent playing dress-up. She said Maxxine didn't have the killer instinct, the experience, or the toughness to survive 5 minutes in the ring with the man. Becky's arrogance was off the charts, but it was justified. She had earned the right to be confident. She had beaten everyone. So when the match began, everyone expected a massacre. Everyone expected Becky Lynch to destroy Maxxine Dupri in under 10 minutes and move on to her next challenger. The opening bell rang, and Becky immediately went on the offensive. She backed Maxxine into the corner with stiff strikes and brutal forearms. She was sending a message. This wasn't going to be competitive. This was going to be a statement. Becky hit her with a big-exploder suplex that shook the ring. The crowd winced. Commentary questioned whether this match should be stopped. Becky was toying with Maxxine, talking trash, slapping her across the face, daring her to fight back. And that's when something changed in Maxxine's eyes. That's when the fire ignited. Maxxine blocked a punch. Then another. She ducked under a clothesline and hit the ropes with surprising speed. She came back with a dropkick that actually staggered Becky Lynch. The crowd gasped. Maxxine followed up with a series of strikes, mixing boxing combinations with knee strikes, showing a viciousness nobody knew she possessed. Becky was shocked. She wasn't expecting this level of resistance. She wasn't expecting Maxxine to fight back with such intensity. But Becky is the man for a reason. She weathered the storm and regained control with a devastating leg sweep followed by a guillotine leg drop. What happened over the next 15 minutes was nothing short of incredible. These two women beat the absolute hell out of each other. Maxxine refused to stay down. Every time Becky hit a signature move, every time it looked like the end, Maxxine kicked out. The crowd started getting behind her. Slowly at first, then building into a roar. They were witnessing a star being born. They were watching Maxxine Dupri prove she belonged on this stage. She hit a tornado DDT that got a near fall. She locked in a crossface that had Becky scrambling for the ropes. Maxxine was not only surviving, she was competing. But Becky Lynch didn't become champion by being easy to beat. She dug deep into her arsenal and started targeting Maxxine's arm, the same arm Maxxine uses for her finishing maneuver. Becky was systematic. She was vicious. She hit an armbar takedown on the ring apron that made everyone cringe. She slammed Maxxine's arm into the ring post repeatedly. She was trying to break her, mentally and physically. Maxxine was in agony, clutching her arm, and Becky smelled blood in the water. Becky set up for the manhandle slam, the move that has ended countless matches, the move that has retained her championship time and time again. She lifted Maxxine up, but Maxxine fought out of it with desperation elbows. She landed behind Becky and shoved her into the ropes. Becky bounced back and Maxxine went for a roll-up. 1, 2. Becky kicked out, but she was frustrated now. She was angry. She charged at Maxxine with a clothesline, but Maxxine ducked and Becky went flying over the top rope to the outside. This is where things got interesting. Maxxine went to the top rope, looking for a high-risk dive to the outside. The crowd was on their feet. She leaped off with a crossbody and crashed into Becky Lynch on the floor. Both women were down. The referee started counting. Both struggled to get up. They barely made it back into the ring before the 10 count. The exhaustion was setting in. The damage was accumulating. Both women were running on fumes and pure will. They met in the center of the ring and started trading strikes. Forearms, slaps, punches, neither woman willing to back down. The crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," because it absolutely was. Becky got the advantage and went for the disarmer, her devastating submission finisher. She locked it in tight. Maxxine was trapped in the center of the ring with nowhere to go. She was screaming in pain. Her arm was already damaged. The referee was asking if she wanted to quit. The crowd was begging her not to tap. And Maxxine, showing heart that nobody knew she had, started crawling toward the ropes, inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter. Becky was wrenching back with everything she had, but Maxxine's finger touched the bottom rope. Becky was furious. She couldn't believe Maxxine survived the disarmer. She pulled Maxxine up and started screaming in her face, telling her to stay down, telling her she didn't belong here. Big mistake. Because you never give a fighter who has nothing to lose time to recover. Maxxine suddenly exploded with a headbutt that shocked everyone. Becky stumbled backward. Maxxine hit a super kick. Becky was dazed. Maxxine climbed to the top rope again, this time going for her finishing move despite her damaged arm. She leaped off with a picture-perfect moonsault. She connected. She hooked the leg. 1, 2. Becky kicked out at the last possible millisecond. The arena was electric. Nobody could believe what they were witnessing. Maxxine Dupri was not only hanging with Becky Lynch, she was pushing the champion to her absolute limit. Both women were exhausted, battered, and running on nothing but pride and determination. They slowly got to their feet, using each other to pull themselves up. They were leaning on each other, almost in mutual respect of the war they were having. Then Becky shoved Maxxine away and went for another manhandle slam. She lifted Maxxine up. This was it. This was the end. But then the lights went out. The arena plunged into complete darkness. The crowd erupted into confused chaos. When the lights came back on seconds later, there was someone in the ring. Someone who hadn't been seen in WWE in nearly 10 years. Someone who the wrestling world thought they would never see again. AJ Lee was standing right behind Becky Lynch. The pop was absolutely deafening. Fans were losing their minds. AJ Lee, the woman who held the Divas Championship for 295 days, the woman who changed women's wrestling before the women's revolution even had a name, was back. She was wearing her signature ring gear, that mischievous smile on her face, and Becky Lynch had no idea she was there. Becky was still holding Maxxine in position for the manhandle slam, and when she turned around, she came face to face with AJ Lee. Becky's expression was priceless. Shock, confusion, fear. She dropped Maxxine immediately. AJ just stood there, smiling, not moving, just staring at Becky. The referee was confused, not knowing what to do. Becky started yelling at AJ, asking what she was doing here, telling her to get out of her ring. AJ took one step forward, then another. Becky backed up, and that's when AJ struck. She hit Becky Lynch with the Shining Wizard, her signature knee strike that had put away countless opponents in the past. Becky crumpled to the mat. The referee was calling for the bell, but AJ grabbed his arm and whispered something to him. The referee looked conflicted but nodded. The match was continuing. AJ rolled out of the ring and disappeared into the crowd as quickly as she had appeared. Maxxine Dupri, who had been down in the corner, slowly realized what had just happened. She saw Becky Lynch laid out. She saw her opportunity. With her damaged arm and every ounce of strength she had left, Maxxine crawled over to Becky and draped her arm over her chest. The referee dropped down. 1, 2, 3. The bell rang. The arena exploded. Maxxine Dupri had just pinned Becky Lynch. Maxxine Dupri was the new Intercontinental Women's Champion. The referee handed her the title and she clutched it to her chest, tears streaming down her face, unable to believe what had just happened. She had done it. Against all odds. Against all expectations. With an assist from a returning legend, Maxxine Dupri had achieved her dream. But the story doesn't end there, because now we have a million questions that need answers. Why did AJ Lee return? Why did she help Maxxine Dupri? What is her connection to this situation? AJ has been gone from WWE since 2015, when she retired due to injuries and later became an advocate for mental health and a New York Times best-selling author. She seemed completely done with wrestling. Her husband, CM Punk, had a contentious relationship with WWE for years. So why now? Why this moment? Why Maxxine? There are theories exploding all over social media. Some people think AJ has been secretly mentoring Maxxine for months. Others believe this is the beginning of a new faction. Some fans are speculating that AJ has personal history with Becky Lynch that we don't know about. And everyone wants to know if this was a one-time appearance or if AJ Lee is truly back in WWE full-time. The implications are staggering. For Maxxine Dupri, this is both the greatest and most complicated moment of her career. She's the champion. She achieved her dream. But there's going to be an asterisk next to her victory. People are going to say she didn't really beat Becky Lynch. They're going to say she needed help. They're going to question the legitimacy of her championship reign. Maxxine is going to have to prove herself all over again, and now she has an even bigger target on her back. Becky Lynch is going to be absolutely furious. The man does not take losses well, especially controversial ones. Becky is going to demand a rematch. She's going to want revenge on both Maxxine and AJ Lee. This could turn into a triple threat situation at the next pay-per-view, or we could see AJ and Maxxine team up against Becky and a partner. The possibilities are endless and all of them are exciting. The women's division just got turned completely upside down. Charlotte Flair is going to want a title shot. Rhea Ripley is going to come calling. Bianca Belair isn't going to stand by and watch. Every woman in that locker room is going to be gunning for Maxxine Dupri, trying to expose her as a weak champion, trying to prove that her victory was a fluke. Maxxine is going to have to fight harder than ever before to maintain her position. And we cannot ignore the elephant in the room. CM Punk is currently in WWE. His wife, AJ Lee, just returned. Are they going to interact on screen? Is this the beginning of a power couple storyline? Could we see AJ and Punk managing Maxxine together? The creative possibilities are mind-blowing and WWE would be foolish not to capitalize on this moment. What happened on Raw last night wasn't just a title change. It was a paradigm shift. It was proof that anything can happen in WWE. It was a reminder that legends can return when you least expect it. It was validation for everyone who's been told they're not good enough, not ready, not worthy. Maxxine Dupri proved that with heart, determination, and maybe a little help from a friend, dreams can come true. If you're as blown away by this as I am, I need you to hit the like button right now because this is the kind of content that takes real passion to break down and analyze. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think is next for Maxxine. Do you think she can survive as champion without AJ's help? Is AJ Lee back full-time or was this a one-off appearance? And what is Becky Lynch going to do for revenge? I want to hear all your theories. And listen, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to Ring Rumble yet, I have to ask, what are you waiting for? We're building something incredible here. A community of real wrestling fans who love this business as much as I do. We break down every major moment, every shocking return, every title change with the depth and analysis it deserves. Hit that subscribe button and join this family because we're just getting started. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video because in wrestling, history can be made at any moment, and I want you here for all of it. Maxxine Dupri is the Intercontinental Women's Champion. AJ Lee is back. Becky Lynch is out for blood. The women's division is on fire. And we're here for every single second of this wild ride. This is wrestling. This is drama. This is what we live for.